Ahoy folks, and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. So we did a tips and tricks for jump space, which kind of covers everything early game. I thought we'd focus a little bit more on loot and generally the assembler. So as you can see in the top left, we don't have very much materia. You always start with one materia canister. Let me just put these guns down so I don't accidentally destroy them. And that, of course, you just dump in the assembler. But when you start doing missions, you'll end up with more stuff. Now, mostly, at the moment, salvage value and credits, it doesn't really mean much. All you need is components that get turned into materia ingots. Now, when the game is expanded upon, obviously, salvage value and credits will mean a lot more because you'll be able to buy stuff, but at this moment in time, we can't. But do keep in mind, as this is an early access game, anything I'm saying now can change very rapidly. Like, it could change tomorrow. So if it's wrong, I will update the video description and say, look, they've changed it. But in general, if you or your team don't need stuff, throw it in the dissembler. The only thing you want to be keeping hold of is artifacts, if they're useful. For example, this one. This one's amazing. And there are a few ways you can do this with the artifacts. So there is an artifact that will increase the level of the artifacts on either side of it, which is why I generally don't put anything in the middle straight away. So this, damage dealt to an undamaged enemy is increased by 70%. This is space and ground damage. And the more you pump it up, obviously, the more alpha strike damage you do to that enemy, which is, the first hit. Scrap, that goes straight in the dissembler. Now, things like the deployable shield and the railgun. In missions like 0, 1, 2, you can kind of ignore them, and you can just turn these into materia if you really want to. In missions 3 and up, these become a lot more useful. 3, arguably, you can still kind of ignore them, especially if you're playing solo. Because these, you can't keep after the run, but these are very, very good for killing the tougher ground enemies. You will get much larger bots that attack you, and a lot of them do have shields, or they shoot radioactive mortars, all that sort. They just become really nasty. So these do become a lot more useful in 3 and up difficulty. But if you're only playing below that, or you've just started playing, don't worry too much about them. Maybe use them, have a play around with them, that they're useful. But you don't have to worry too much about them super early on. So if you want to, you can just turn those into materia. And of course, extra guns. If nobody on your team needs them, or you're playing solo and you've already got one, again, chuck it into that. It'll make your run easier. As for artifacts that we're looking at, this is a good one. Heal 30 player health on melee kill. I generally don't use melee kills at all. So if you want to, you can take this and upgrade artifacts with it. So this now has become stronger. Now do 110% damage on an alpha strike. And of course we've got this one, which is you gain 1,000 ship shields. This bonus is increased for each jump by 1,000. So really good to find it on your first map. Actually, we'll put it in the end one because it doesn't need upgrading. Now, as for what we can make, I did touch on this in the last video, but I will say it again. If you don't have any guns and you're stuck with your starter pistol, you can make yourself an SMG here, and you can also make a rocket launcher. This is far more useful, as I said, in the later difficulties when you need bigger, more aggressive weapons. But as standard, you can make them here in the assembler. And of course, you've got your med stims, and utility-wise, you've got your ship shield unit, and you've got your small ship repair kit. Now, you probably already know how to use these, but as this is a tips and tricks video, I will show you what to do with this. If you're on the catamaran, you repair the ship by putting it into there, which is where Iris is in the middle, which is just next to the artifacts. As for the shields, oh, there we go. Sorry, my space button stopped working for a second there. There we go. Out here. There's one here. You can just zip along to the next one, which is here, here, and here. The safest time to do this is after combat and when everything's calmed down, but if you have to do it like you're about to blow up, unless you do it, it's a bit sketchy, but you can still do it during combat. And there's another thing. If you're in massive amounts of trouble and you need to get something off the ship, say for example a radioactive fuse, you can flush stuff down the toilet. And there you go. And that'll fly off into space. It's not super useful, but I mean, you know, if you really have to get rid of something in a pinch, you know, flush it down. But yeah, at the moment, mostly with loot, the main things you want to be keeping are guns that you want to take with you into the next run. And always keep hold of ship repair kits and shield repair kits. Everything else can kind of be binned. Apart from components. Components are the one thing you must... Your run has to be going incredibly badly if you need to get rid of components. I mean, I've had runs like that before, so don't feel bad about that. But if you've gotten to a point where you have no materia, and it's either fail the run or dump some components, then, yeah, flush those components down the disassembler and get that materia. Because it's better to salvage a run than, you know, die with components you'll never be able to use. But the loot does get a bit confusing. But at the moment, you don't really have to worry about credits and that, because they don't really do anything. Now, the last thing I will say is, don't forget, you have ejection tubes. Now, if you're piloting or gunning or whatever, the main ejection tubes are up here. But in a pinch, if you're down, say, your player 3 or 4 helping, you know, run the ship, you do have ejection tubes here. Now, you might think, why would I use the ejection tube instead of just going out there? The ejection tube does give you a quick boost of speed. I'm with you to the bitter end if need be. Compared to just going out the door. Now, as we're talking about on-foot stuff, I will quickly go over Buddy. Now, when you're playing on your own, Buddy is basically your second player. As long as you have materia in the bank, if you die, Buddy will resurrect you. But as soon as you run out of materia, no more resurrecting. Okay. You never ever want to resurrect back into the core. You want to wait for Buddy to res you, because if you do that, you will lose the guns you are holding. And that's a very annoying thing to happen. So just wait for Buddy to pick you up as long as you have the materia. Okay? And also, you know, you do 15 damage to your core by doing that. And last but not least, we're going to quickly talk about the secondary weapons on the ship, which I didn't touch on in the other video. Secondary weapons, I mean these ones. Here, and the special weapon over there, which is a railgun. So you can have 2 railguns, you can have 2 shield bursts, you can have, you know, whatever you want in there. At this point in time, Buddy cannot use the shield burst, which is on 2, and he cannot use the targeter. He can only use the railguns and the rocket launchers. For some reason, Buddy cannot use the passive or defensive secondary weapons, so do keep that in mind when you're playing. It may look like he's using the targeter, but he's not. He can't use it, and he can't use the shield burst, which is incredibly annoying for solo players, because the shield burst is incredibly useful in the higher missions. You know, when you're fighting against several elite sniper ships and you need a shield, Buddy just won't use it. So there you have it, folks. Some more niche tips and tricks for the game Jump Space. If this is helpful and you've enjoyed, please do like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And as I find more things, I will, of course, bring them to you. And if you've got any questions, please do ask down in the comments. We'll be happy to answer. But until the next one, take it easy, and we shall see you later. Yo, folks.